welcome.
Wow, that was a welcome.
That was a big welcome.
That was a welcome.
That was. I want to be welcoming, you know?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so welcome back to the Underbelly Hours. We have a lovely episode for you this week. Our guest today is really fun and does a whole bunch of stuff that not a lot of people that we've talked to before do. So,
including mixing music with therapy and a podcast, all in one thing.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
They gotta know what they're getting into, Dan.
But
just a little bit.
Okay, but first, we have to start off every episode with some new music from some local people. But first,
before even that,
we got an intro. I'm Dan.
I'm Adela.
And you're listening to
the Underbelly Hours.
In my basement.
Take off your coat, stay a while!
Like listening to new music? Want to know a band before they get popular? Tune into the Underbelly Hours, Sunday nights at 6 p.m. on WRSC 88.7 FM, and discover the best of local unsigned musicians. Don't miss out on the next big thing.
After that impeccable intro,
I think
flawless,
it's the best one yet.
Beautiful intro, we're here to first talk about some of the new music we've been listening to this week by local musicians. Dan, would you like to start off? Oh no, Dan.
Oh, sorry.
Dan unplugged for a second. We've had to plug him back in.
No, you can go first because I don't want to say Crab Cat every week.
Okay.
Because they put out a song every Friday and it's always
sure.
awesome synthwave stuff.
Then I will start with a really cool band that I found through actually a Facebook advertisement. They were advertising their album or EP release show, and for some reason I was in the audience that saw that advertisement, and I was intrigued, so I headed over and listened to the EP, and it was really, really good. The band is called Bur Oak. The EP is called Southsider, and it is just really pleasant, more kind of like a summertime California dream rock pop kind of sound, which I know is very popular right now. So you might be thinking to yourself, okay, well that's, kind of half the bands that are out nowadays. What makes them so special? And I think that they do, honestly, a really good job of constructing their songs, which we'll get to song structure actually later this episode, constructing their songs in an intriguing and interesting way. So the vocal lines are delivered very, dream pop manner. There's nothing very belty or embellished about the vocals, but the songs either have really interesting lyrics that you wouldn't expect, or have little breakdowns kind of between the verse and the chorus that's interesting. There's always something a little nugget that helps keep the ear more engaged than
Ear candy.
Yeah, ear candy, there's something that keeps the ear engaged instead of letting it drift off to the background, because it could easily drift off to the background like a lot of those dreamy rock pop groups do. Mm-hmm. But there's something in each, a golden nugget in each song that keeps you.
A piece of candy.
Yeah.
A piece of candy.
Yeah.
A piece of candy.
Exactly. And for that reason, I would like to actually shout out FOMO, which is not what you think it is. FOMO does not stand for what you think it stands for, and you'll find out
what do you think
by listening.
Okay.
Fear of missing out.
Oh, that's what it means.
That's what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's way more
Dan.
appropriate than what I thought it
Oh
was.
my god. In any case, it's not whatever the hell Dan's thinking, and it's not Fear of Missing Out, but it is a wonderful song. So let's take a listen to FOMO by by Bur Oak, from their EP, Southsider.
It was a sunny day. Oh, I lost my footing on the way to a show, and I was thinking of you in the cold.
All right, Dan, Devilish Dan, what do you got for us?
Well, the Darling Sons has just put out a new song,
Oh yeah.
a new single called Fine.
Like that intonation.
Fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. No, but it's better than fine.
It's better
It's
than
a
fine.
fun tune.
It's
they're better.
Fine, you know, like you
like-
see someone across the room, you're like, wow, that's
Look at that fine
song.
thing right there. Look at that. Fine. That's
Yeah.
just fine.
That kind of a fine.
Capital F.
Capital F. Mm-hmm.
I-N-E.
Yeah.
Period.
I think it.
I don't think there's a period, but it's nice and chill and mellow and but still has a groove and
Mhm.
it's fun.
It's a little bit more laid back than their previous
Yeah.
stuff. So I think it's a good summertime chill song. You know,
Yeah.
driving, coasting along in your evening drive kind of song, and it's nice, very well put together. But Darling Sons
Nice.
always release really great music, so you could say that for all of their tunes. Let's take a listen.
I guess.
Things have been blurry since last year. Some of it all looks the same. And I'm just glad that you're still here, carrying all the weight. The conversations are short talk. The way you look out the window's clear. But we're getting there. And I'll be fine. As long as you're by my side, fine. As long as you're by my side, fine. As long as you're by my side. Remember that night on Oakley, rooftops and stars in your hair. Until the moment distracted you. I'm sorry, I don't mean to stare. The tip of my tongue and it's all gone. The words I had escaped from me. But don't you leave. And I'll be fine. As long as you're by my side, fine. As long as you're by my side, fine. As long as you're by my side. As long as you're by my side, girl. I'll be fine. As long as you're by my side, 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 fine. As long as you're by my side. As long as you're by my side, girl. As long as you're by my side. As
Welcome back to the second portion of the show now, where we do all the deep dives with artists and interviews with people from all around the area. Today, we're very, very lucky because it's not just a musician who we have on the podcast, but also somebody who works in music therapy, which I think is a first for us. We've never
A real
talked.
live human being.
Yeah, whoa, look at this. It's going to be so exciting. Her name's Jessica Risker. She not only has great music, but also has our own podcast about music therapy, and it's going to be a great time. Welcome, Jessica. How are you doing this warm, lovely day?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
We're doing pretty great, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is somebody else calling? What was that?
You might be hearing my small child yell for help, but we'll ignore him.
All right, I think we're just gonna keep running.
His dad will take care of it.
Aw. Yeah. So Jessica, you are somebody that we've been following for a little bit on Instagram, and I'm really happy that we can finally connect because you do really interesting work with your music therapy podcast. I haven't really seen a whole lot of people do something like that before, so I'm really, really excited to chat about that. But first, because this is your first time on the show, we got to do a little icebreaker game with you.
All right.
And I think
Let's
the
do it.
best icebreaker for new people, synthesis game.
Yeah.
So let's do the synthesis game. And if you are a long-time listener, you already know what this means, but let's repeat the rules one more time for Jessica. Dan, you go ahead.
Oh, well, it's pretty simple. You have 3 questions that are going to ask you to describe music in non-musical terms. And, then we synthesize them up, we recap them, and then we play a tune of yours for the listeners. It's basically an excuse for us to ask you stupid, silly questions.
Yes.
Okay.
3 questions. So let's begin with... Do you mind if I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with the following. If your music could be described as a dish, so this could be a dessert, this could be a breakfast food, dinner food, but any sort of dish, what kind of dish do you think it would best describe?
Whipped cream.
Whipped cream. Interesting. You said that like right off the bat. She already knew what she was gonna say. Why whipped cream?
I feel like my most recent album is sort of light and airy and floaty, so that made me think of whipped cream.
Mm-hmm. I actually hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about how nice and like ethereal your album is right before we got on with the phone call with you. So cool, whipped cream. Okay, question number 2.
If your music was, let's keep it in the culinary field. If your music was a eating utensil, because there's only so many of those, what are we eating this whipped cream with?
Definitely a spoon.
Okay.
A spoon? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if we were getting crazy and just like for the fun of it, a fork or a spork.
Oh yeah, that's true. She decided to go with a spoon though, not a spork, because it's more smooth. Her music, it's not.
No pointy edges. You don't need to stab into it. It's soft. You can scoop it, melts.
Nice. Very cool. Okay.
Passing right back to you.
Wow, I love how like smoothly this is going. So that was question number 2. Spoon. Question number 3. If your music could pair well with like any sort of movie or TV show, which movie or TV show do you think would best go with your musical stylings? And to make it a little bit easier, let's maybe focus on that like latest album that you have.
Okay, this one will be a little harder for me. Let's see. Well, I think it might be something spacey. Definitely what I would call kind of space psych music. So I'm trying to think of not like a Star Trek kind of spacey, but what is the one where I don't know. Let's just say a movie. Isn't there a movie where they I'm just gonna sound dumb the more I talk. A space movie. We'll call it a space movie.
Let's call it space movie. The
Space
movie
movie.
Space.
Like I picture like a little bit more of a romantic like space movie or something like
Interstellar.
more Interstellar.
That's That's a rom-com, right?
No, don't they die in Interstellar?
I don't know.
Well, we can go with Interstellar because I don't think either of us. Have you seen it?
Maybe.
You have?
I can neither confirm nor deny that I've seen
All
this
right,
very
so
relevant
let's
movie
say-
in pop culture.
Let's say, yeah, space movie, but not like crazy action-packed space movie. Maybe more like about space travel
Lost in Space.
and space adventures.
There was one where it largely took part where he was floating in space and trying to fix the ship. And
Oh, Gravity?
For the actor. What?
Gravity.
Is it Gravity?
I think
I
so.
think
That's
so.
Sandra
With
Bullock.
Sandra Bullock. And
Yeah, might have been
Clooney?
it.
George Clooney.
Maybe that. Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of that one. Anyway.
Yeah, that could go well, actually.
Yeah, that works better.
Mm-hmm. Let's
go
go
with
with
that.
Gravity. Gravity. That's
Okay,
a
we'll
good
go
one.
with that one.
All right. So now,
You got
everybody. Nice. I want you all to picture in your minds right now whipped cream being eaten with a spoon. And also
While watching
the
Gravity.
movie Gravity. Yes, while watching Gravity. And that's the vibe that you will experience with this very first track of the night from Jessica Risker. Let's go with a song from your latest album. Maybe we can start with I See You Among the Stars, since that is your most popular track on Spotify.
Perfect.
Great. Okay, so you're listening to I See You Among the Stars by Jessica Risker.
On the Underbelly Hours in my basement.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I see you coming in my darkest hour, humming phrases, drumming rocks and rhythms, laughing at
So, Jessica, you have a very interesting musical path because you're a musician, you're a music therapist, you have a podcast, you do a lot of different cool things within the field of music. And I don't want to necessarily dive into the interview with a deeper question right away, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm curious, did you have a moment when you were younger when you realized, hey, I really want to be involved in music for my whole life. I want to make this my job, my career. Or did the musical things that you're involved with, the projects and the jobs, kind of fall into place along the way?
Well, just to clarify one point, I'm not actually a music therapist, although my podcast is called Music Therapy. It's more like therapy for musicians.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I am a regular psychotherapist. I don't work with music with my clients, but I'm very into music, and so that is the way I do combine, what I am really into. I would say that music has always been a huge interest of mine, but I think that it also, let's keep doing it. It also, had been and continues to feel a little challenging to figure out how I would make music. I want to write songs and play songs, and that's how I want to do music. And it's been harder to figure out how I would make that my primary source of income while being able to do exactly what I want with that. So counseling was also, I've also been very interested in psychology and philosophy, and that was an avenue that felt like, here's a way I could make my income, do something that feels meaningful and I care about, and then music is something that I've really sort of grinded at along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, the podcast, which was born out of the pandemic, I never saw myself doing a podcast, but that was just a way to really blend these two main interests of mine this past year, and it's kind of grown, and it's been kind of fun to watch it take on life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can I ask, was there a reason at all why you wanted to just pursue psychotherapy exclusively and not maybe go the music therapy route? Was it just a degree thing, timing thing?
I don't think I was ever interested in doing music therapy, working with music. I think I really enjoy the theories and the implementation of interventions that come with more, traditional psychotherapy. So I feel like it was more interesting to me that to approach it that way than be a music therapist.
It's actually kind of interesting too, because I think the blessing kind of having a job where you're not steeped in music is you get a nice clean break from it, right? Your brain can reset and do something completely else. It's still helping people and it's still creative, right? You're doing creative problem solving, you're listening to people's stories, but there is that kind of clean break, which maybe for some people I know is more beneficial and helps them approach their music then with a fresher kind of mindset because they're not constantly steeped in music. But let's mention really quick your podcast, because you mentioned that you started this over the pandemic, and both of us were under the wrong impression that you are a music therapist, but you're not. And that kind of makes the podcast, I think, a little more interesting then too, because it is a little therapy session, for musicians. They talk a lot about how they struggle with certain either, problems that they've had in their life, their emotions, and how they've dealt with that through music. It's really fascinating. You mentioned you didn't really see yourself starting a podcast though, so what was that catalyst to start a podcast in such a tumultuous year when you didn't really see yourself going down that path?
Yeah, at the beginning, when everything was happening so quickly and the lockdown happened, so many musicians, including myself, had shows shut down. I had a show coming up at Sleeping Village I was really excited about. I hadn't played there before. And I think a lot of musicians, including myself, were turning to Instagram Live to, maybe they're playing a set and trying to connect with people. And that way, I wanted to connect. I wanted a spot to play my music. but I also wanted to kind of make an offering to my community, the music community, and the thing that I, am the thing that I'm most capable of offering would be mental health support. A lot of musicians can't afford mental health support, or, I just thought even if one or two people get something out of this. So at first it was me going on Instagram and, maybe I do a guided meditation or just kind of talk about trying to keep your day structured after everybody's days had been all disoriented and changed so rapidly. And so just trying to offer these little tidbits. And then I might play like a new song I was working on and just have that audience and kind of fulfill both of those things. Not too long after that, I realized that it would be easier in many ways and also very natural for me to interview people. And so I started interviewing other musicians, my friends, and people who was just really interested to hear how they were having to pivot. So many people had, South by Southwest, they were going to go there for the first time, and all of a sudden they couldn't go, and they had an album they just released, and they were going to had plans all year long. And so just talking about people, about their stories, and I just had the idea one day, and I decided to do it. I really enjoyed how quickly I just ran with the idea. I didn't overthink it the way I usually do. Eventually, several months later, I sort of realized, I kept all the recordings, and I sort of realized this is a podcast format. It's a long-form conversation, and this is what it's suited for, so I may as well throw these up and call it a podcast. And now I think of it that way, that and have produced it a little bit to think of it in being a podcast. But at first it was just, let me connect with people and see if I can offer a little something to the music community I'm part of.
Have you noticed, once you started doing these interviews, was there like an increase in demand for people reaching out to you to be interviewed? Or were you mostly reaching out to other people during this time to try and get their stories out?
As it's gone on, I've definitely gotten more people reaching out, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering.
I was just fortunate that people would take a chance on me in the show and be vulnerable. I'm asking them some people get very candid with the mental health stuff. And so at first it was, people taking a chance on it. But now I think people want to be part of it.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I think it definitely fulfills an interesting niche, because a lot of times when we're talking to bands, or in general people who interview other people, there's sometimes like that line that you're worried that you'll cross when you're talking about like, what's the song about? And you can tell maybe there's some sort of hesitancy. And a lot of times in a normal interview, we don't always push past that hesitancy, because it's an unknown. We don't know if the artist wants to feel more vulnerable in this space or not. And I think what your podcast does super well is it lets people kind of exposes their vulnerability and lets people completely be honest and frank about what they're feeling and how they're trying to deal with it through music or other means, especially in a crazy year like last year, and even still now, a lot of people don't have access to, performing the way that they used to, or releasing music the way that they used to. And it's important that there's somebody out there's some way that they can still kind of understand and unravel those feelings, I think that's a really cool thing that you do. Over the course of your show, it's not been out for a super long time, but I know that we've learned over the course of our show a lot of crazy things, and we've learned, about other people, about bands, and about ourselves. What's one thing that you've learned so far in your journey with Music Therapy Podcast?
Can I ask a little tag-along question to that? It's kind of a joke question, but also you can answer honestly. Are musicians generally more crazy than other people? Are they, I'm just, because, most musicians are a little bit more empaths, they're more in tune with emotions and stuff, and I feel like that kind of usually leads to a little bit more craziness.
I think we're a little bit more, in touch with what we're feeling all the time and trying to analyze it over time, sometimes overanalyze it, too.
I would say that's true, whether or not they're, have more going on than other people. We won't even talk about comedians, but
comedians,
upper echelons of crazy.
Yeah, but certainly, what you're saying, I think that a lot of musicians are very in touch with, what they're feeling, are very sensitive, and maybe struggle have propensity for mental health issues. And the first part, have I learned anything about myself? I think I was really unsure of what I was doing at first and unsure about my ability to, carry a show as a host. But I think that I've certainly grown in my confidence. I'm still learning, but I've definitely grown in my confidence being able to do that. In some ways, the show has been, kind of to your earlier point, the show is set up so that people tend to know when they're going on the show that this is going to be more in-depth conversation. And because I talk to people hours every week talk to total strangers really about, at least at first, very, very personal things, that's sort of a very comfortable space for me, is to press, gently, but to ask people and kind of cross those lines a little bit. And it's been a very natural fit, I think, in that way, for people to feel more comfortable opening up.
Yeah. Great. Let's pivot a little bit now. Actually, before we completely pivot, do you have your podcast on all the streaming platforms, or can you plug it really quick right now and mention where people can listen to it?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty much anywhere you can listen to a podcast. Search Music Therapy with Jessica Risker. And you can also visit musictherapypodcast.com, and that's got all the episodes on it as well, and also links to the different podcatchers. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Podcast episodes.
Podcatchers.
Podcatchers.
Isn't that a site or something?
Those are the ones that play your podcatchers. I don't know. Anyway, so yes. musictherapypodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you want to listen to them. It should be on all.
Great. Awesome stuff. So let's transition a little bit more into your music now, because we're talking a lot about, how people deal with their emotions through music and all that stuff, but we haven't really talked too much about your own music yet. So let's insert a song here at this point in the podcast, just to transition. Do you have a tune of yours? And I know this is a hard question for everybody because we all like a lot of our music, but the first song that comes to mind for you as being a song that you've really enjoyed writing recently?
Well, I guess the recent writings I'm still working on an album right now, so they're a little bit older, but I think I like on the latest album, the song "Help Me" is a pretty emotionally expressive song, and I like that one a lot, and I always enjoy performing that one.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. So this is the song "Help Me" by Jessica Risker on
the Underbelly Hours in my basement.
Help
transitioning a little bit to Jessica's music. Your latest album is I See You Among the Stars. We talked about the fact that your music kind of has more of an ethereal and airy quality to it. I also wanted, before you jump too far into album talk and stuff, point out, has anyone ever told you that you look kind of a lot like Markéta Irglova?
No.
No? We all want to look her up. She is actually, I don't know. Now I'm kind of thinking, just in this one picture of yours on Spotify, she did a lot of stuff with Glenn Hansard, like 10 years ago.
Who?
It's a good, if you like folky stuff, I suggest you check her out. I think you'd like her. And you also like look a little bit like her, so I thought that was kind of fun.
I felt like that was almost as bad as like, you look like that one person that like I saw one day passing on the street.
No!
You weren't there, but you look like him. Do you know him?
Markéta Irglova is not really well known, I'll admit, but she was in the movie once, which was like super popular in 2000.
Yeah.
Okay, see, it's getting worse and worse. But outside of more obscure musicians, let's talk about musicians who have been inspiring to you. Is there anyone who, I don't think it's hard to pull directly from musicians when you're creating your own original music, but is there any musicians that you've really looked up to over the years, either lyrically or sonically, that you just love?
For all of the above, my favorite musician by far is Beck. He's the greatest. I always loved him. My last album is, this kind of bass, psychedelic folk, but I have another album that came out previous to that called Big Forever, and it's very much, it's definitely got some psychedelic elements, but there's beats in it, and it's more kind of garage rock and experimental and noise, and it's all mashed together, and, I feel like Beck is great at flipping between, he does this really, really folk music, and also this big beats and bass driven, and just plays a lot with soundscapes. His lyrics are amazing, and I like how he flip-flops between music styles and throws a banjo solo into a Prince song, and just really plays with ideas in a very funny way, but it just always sounds amazing. And I love that he goes back and forth between those styles, and I also think he's a really great songwriter. He's got songs that he's remixed, a bunch of times, but the song itself is strong. You can't really have people cover a song and redo it if you don't have a good skeleton and structure in place. And that's a lot of what I try to, create with, like I See Among the Stars, or just solid foundations for a song. And then you can kind of take those any direction once you've got the skeleton. So all of that and more of his visual stuff, he's just really funny. His videos are good. I love everything about him, and in many ways I feel, inspired, or can relate to a lot of that desire to experiment, play with different styles and things.
Right.
Was he also an influence, or what inspired you? I'm getting specific now because I love this part in the song. I think it was Won't You Meet Us in Vegas. All of a sudden, it strips down to this awesome bass groove, and then like a synthesizer solo starts going crazy, but it almost sounds like it has a little bit of a theremin vibe too. And it's just like, woo, and it's all spacey. I'm like, whoa, where is this coming from? And you're just bopping.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get right back into like the garage rock riff, and it's like, whoa, that was cool. So yeah, was there a Beck calling to that, or what else inspired that little tidbit?
that song Skeleton I put out there, but that was very much me and my band, and that synth part, Joshua Wentz, who is my longtime music partner, he is responsible for that entire synth. So you'd have to ask him about that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Were you guys just jamming, and then he was like, I know what to put here, and then just
we have several takes of it, and each solo is pretty great. We had to pick one, but
nice.
He brings so much to the music, with what he does with the synths, and at this point, we all kind of know what we're working towards.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely Beck is an inspiration for me, and the bassist that we work with, Jarrett Hotan, Beck's bassist, Justin Middle Johnson, is his favorite bassist. So he's often drawing from him, too. And then I'll mention Adam Levy, our drummer, just because I mentioned the other guy's name, too.
For sure.
That's awesome.
Do you guys usually jam stuff out like that, where you kind of present a skeleton idea, structure, and then the band fills it out, you fill it out together from there?
Yeah.
Nice.
I feel like when I bring too many, it's so much better to come in with the basic idea and then let them do their stuff and see where it goes, for sure.
You mentioned that at this point, something along the lines of at this point you guys all know what you're going towards. And I latched onto that idea because your band sounds really, really tight. And the way that you guys make songs jamming around a skeleton, it just makes me curious. How long have you guys been playing together as a band?
Josh and Adam and I have been playing together since maybe 2012 or so. Maybe even earlier than that. I'm terrible with years. And then Matt Harding, we played with, he was guitarist for a few years, and then he moved to LA, and then Jarrett came on. So that's been the past. I've lost all sense of time.
We have to.
Understandable.
Yeah,
I
totally
think
understandable.
everyone has.
He's come in, and yeah, so we've been playing together for a little while, for sure.
Yeah. You can hear that, and I also think it takes a strong leader, though, too, to make sure that the band sound stays kind of consistent. Because what's cool is, despite the big leap from Big Forever and I See You Among the Stars, you can kind of hear elements that connect both, right? Like, you can tell, okay, this is the Jessica Risker sound. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And you did a little bit more of a garage experimental album with Big Forever. I See You Among the Stars is a little bit more stripped down. You mentioned more skeletons, like more strong structures for songs that could be embellished and made crazy. Where's the direction going for your new stuff? Because you mentioned that you're working on some new tunes.
Yeah, I am. So I See You Among the Stars was actually just myself and Josh. And then we work with Dave Vitrano, who's a Chicago engineer. And basically the three of us were the main players on that album. Before lockdown, the full band and I were working on an album about, the idea of the album is about going to Mars, and it's sort of a metaphor for becoming a mom, which is like a trip that you take and you can't turn back from, is the whole idea. But so we were working on these songs, and we're definitely in the middle of feeling out the songs, and then we kind of had to stop when we couldn't get together anymore. We haven't picked up yet. Our drummer just got married, so he's busy, and we're going to figure it out. But then over the course of the pandemic, so I was really excited about that because I definitely like to flip-flop and was feeling the more drum, the bigger sound and the full band sound. Pandemic kind of forced me back into my folk writing mode, and I'm part of the songwriter club, just me and some friends, and once a month we get together, and this kind of kept us going, and we would share a song that we worked on that month. So I wrote enough for an album in 2020, and right now Josh and I are working together to flush out the sound. I think there's probably going to be a couple other players on that too, and that's kind of in the vein of I See You Among the Stars, but we're trying to stay in the neighborhood but still feel like we're evolving the sound a little bit. There's going to be some flute on there, but kind of in a psychedelic way, not in the
classical, airy way.
Movie kind of way. We're in a psychedelic kind of way. And, so we're in the middle of figuring that out right now.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
We love little concept albums here at Underbelly Hours. Yeah.
I'm huge biased. If somebody says an album is a concept album, I automatically like it 2 points more. If it was like 7 out of 10, it's like, oh, it was a concept album? All right, 9 out of 10. There we go, just for that.
Yeah. Did you want to go?
I mean, whose was first?
That's true. I think it was simultaneous. That's a problem. We spent too much time together.
I was gonna ask about this. Is it Deadbeat? The Deadbeat project? Is that? I was doing a little research in it. Like your music page is also / Deadbeat. What's the distinction between that work and what's going on with that?
That was my earlier name, and when I See Among the Stars was put up by Western Vinyl, and they, kind of gave me the heads up and said, look, there's another Deadbeat out there. It's this guy from Canada, and he does electronic music. He lives in Germany now. And so they asked me, there's a lot of Deadbeats out there. So they asked me if I would change my name. So I guess it kind of is just what I used to play under was Deadbeat, and now I do just for this year. So
okay, so it's just the former name, artist formerly known as Deadbeat.
That's the answer I should have given.
Nice. I'm a little curious I know that it's hard because you haven't released this music yet, but I'm curious about your concept album, Going to Mars, and kind of exploring motherhood and stuff like that.
Have you contacted Elon Musk about being the background music for his Mars flights? Is that in the process?
I'll tweet.
Yeah, tweet at him, see if he responds. He might. He's crazy. But I feel like it's very cool to see a lot of musicians lately, from what I've noticed, being more honest about, important life changes like becoming a mom. It's a big thing. What kind of message are you hoping to send with this album, if any at all? I'm curious. If not, don't worry about it, but is there some sort of bigger thing that you're trying to say with the whole concept album and, transitioning into being a mom, or is it more of a emotional dump for you and kind of just in process, helping yourself process the experience and commemorate the experience, really?
I think probably, I'm not trying to send a message as much as just, kind of what you're saying, commemorate the experience, but then acknowledge that it's something that you can't go back. Once you cross that line, you're changed. So I think it's kind of exploring that.
Cool. Yeah. Has it been, well, I don't want to get too personal, but if you don't want to answer this question, totally cool. Has it been difficult trying to juggle, because you have a toddler, right? And the pandemic, and you're writing music, you're a working musician, but you're also a therapist. Has it been difficult to juggle all those roles? And if so, what's one way that you found to try and actually, get a better handle on it and put,
get that proper work-life balance.
Yeah, get the work-life balance down.
It has been. I mean, that's a big, that was another motivator for the podcast, was just talking to people, how do you go on tour? Talking to Miranda Winters of Underbelly, she was going to go on tour, and how were they going to do that? What does that look like? And it is hard. It was especially hard the first year. He's almost 3 now, so it's not as intense, and the sleep deprivation isn't there now. That made a huge. I would say to anybody, you can write off the first year, basically. Although I did play, I think he was born in September, and I played my first show that October after he was born. So I performed at least once a month after he was born. I think that it would be, for many years I worked, in social work agencies, and it was a 9-to-5 type of job. I think it would be much harder to balance motherhood and music and working with that sort of schedule. But I made the transition right before he was born to opening my own private practice. And there's a lot of freedom in having my own practice and being able to set my own hours. I don't start till like 4 p.m. So if I play a show, I'm not super tired in the morning. I can be with him all day, and I can do Wednesday night, my monthly show at Cafe Mustache, the music therapy live show that I do, because I'm not competing with work, and I can. So in many ways, I have been able to make it work, but I very consciously have made decisions to shape allowing room for music, because it would be very easy for the thing that doesn't make you money to get pushed to the side whether you wanted it to or not. And so that is something that I did really have to think about how that would look, and was really, really nervous about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have been making it work. It's harder for me to think about touring now. I wouldn't want to leave them for very long at all, but everything else, I've got 2 albums worth of material I'm working on and playing shows. I do a monthly I'm
Right.
figuring it out. So I think it's possible. Other people say the same thing. You're sort of, instead of waking up and be like, oh, maybe I'll write something today, and then around 3 o'clock I sort of pick up the guitar. Now I'm like, I've got between 2 and 3 to put this thing down. And in a way that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, limitations can sometimes like force you out of writer's block, because you kind of just have to make a decision and run with it, and because you know the clock's ticking. Has that been have you seen a influence on that in the music compared to the other albums of songs? Like, are you noticing a change because you're working with the time limitations? Has that changed the songwriting at all?
I don't think so. But I have always responded really well to deadlines. So there's forced deadlines now. I've had sort of more artificially forced deadlines before that were also effective for me. And any changes in my music, I think it's just because I'm further along and maybe knowing what I'm trying to go for, but not necessarily because of the difference in my work-life balance or having a kid or anything like that.
Right.
Cool stuff. All right. We've been talking a bit. Let's throw in another tune just for the audience to keep listening to your lovely, lovely music. We mentioned that your new upcoming album is going to continue more along the lines of I See You Among the Stars, but we already played that. Is there another song in mind that maybe you wrote that you're really proud of lyrically? Let's go with that.
Lyrically. I was going to say Big Forever because we talked about that song, or Won't You Meet Us in Vegas. Let's see. I don't know if that's my most lyrically rich song. There's not a whole lot of lyrics in there, but I'm trying to think.
Well, we do.
Should we set a timer on you?
I actually just need a list of my songs.
Yeah.
I
Well,
like the
that's
song
more
Chop
of a
Shop
song.
High School. I don't know if it's on Spotify, but I like that one. It's on. I can send it to you guys.
Yeah,
All
sure.
right. Chop Shop High School?
Chop Shop High School.
Hey, I love that name. All right. You're listening to Chop Shop High School by Jessica Risker.
And the Underbelly Hours. In my basement.
Let's not think
let's wrap this up by talking a little bit about performances. Now, I know we have no idea what's going to happen next month or for the rest of the year in that matter. But as of right now, are there any performances you have coming up that you're really looking forward to?
I actually don't have any performances on the books right now, but I'm okay with that because we are in the middle of working out this new material, and I got really tired of playing my old stuff, and it definitely feels time for a fresh set of songs, and things are so up in the air right now that I'm fine with us spending time together, figuring out these songs, and then when we get the opportunity next, we'll take it. So the only thing I'm doing, I'm not performing, but I'm hosting a monthly show at Cafe Mustache, which is music therapy group session. The group session is where I meet with a full band, and we talk about band dynamics, bands fighting, how bands write together. We talk with the whole group, and then they play, and it streams on Twitch. You can also go live, but you can watch it on Twitch, and then they play a little set. So I've been doing that each month, and we've done 3 of them now, and that's been going really well. So those are my live appearances that I'm not performing.
That's awesome.
But I definitely encourage people to check those out. Those are really fun to talk to the group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and every band I know could use
some band therapy.
Some kind of band therapy. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really fun so far.
That's
awesome.
So cool.
And how can they find that on Twitch if they wanted to stream that live?
So that's at twitch.com at TGI. Hold on a second, I'm going to look this up. This is important.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Twitch, TGIS Cafe Mustache. So it's /TGIS Cafe Mustache. And then I also released the audio as a podcast episode as well.
Yay! That's
beautiful.
So fun. Okay.
Lovely.
How about this, though? Okay, you don't have any, live performances coming up, but eventually you're going to release the album. You're going to have to do an album release show. And if you can do your album release show at any venue in Chicago, what would be your dream venue to host an album release show at?
Madison Square Garden.
Chicago,
In Chicago.
Dan, Chicago.
Wembley Stadium in Chicago.
Well, I mean, where I would love to do it versus where I probably would do it are different. But I think Talia Hall is my favorite space to go see music.
It's a fun venue.
But I would also love to do it at the Hideout or Cafe Mustache, or I've done an Empty Bottle before. Any of the, I love it all of it.
Mm-hmm. But if Talia Hall, if anyone's listening and got a connection, hook up Jessica for her album release show. That'd be really great. Lovely. I think
that's
that's a wrap.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
I think that's a wrap. Jessica, could you plug your lovely social media sites for your own music and also your music therapy podcast one last time for our listeners to get into their noggins?
Yeah, probably the hub, the best places to go, jessicarisker.com and musictherapypodcast.com. And from there you can access everything.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Look at that. Look how simple.
Just
One
streamlined
website.
it for you, so you have no excuses that you can't find it.
That's true. We
It's all
expect
there.
a full report back next episode.
200
yes.
pages or more.
Of the best Jessica Riska album, in your humble opinion. Okay?
Yes.
Yes.
This is your dissertation.
All right. Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us today for a chat. We really appreciated it. And I know that we're definitely going to go check out the Cafe Mustache Twitch stuff now. We did not know about that. And we'll enjoy it and listen to more of your lovely music. Please let us know when the album comes out. We would love to take a listen and share the good word to our listeners as well. And just thanks.
Thank you guys so much. I really had a good time, so thank you guys for having me on.
Of course. And if you like this kind of thing, where we're talking to the musicians, to the artists, you can follow us too at the Underbelly Hours. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, unfortunately, and all the streaming services for the podcast episodes. We also,
Smash that like button.
yes, just as he said,
bell, subscribe.
subscribe.
Do you say that we're on YouTube?
I did not say this. I was going to say we're on YouTube. And
we're on
be
the Tubi
sure,
View.
be sure to subscribe to that because we have a very special video coming soon about Homegrown Arts and Music Festival because we toured the premises 2 weeks ago.
We did. We
and
went on tour
We did. Of Homegrown.
of Homegrown.
Behind the scenes. It was really fun. That whole thing's going to drop there. And also stay tuned because next week, our guest is going to be somebody that you won't want to miss.
Yeah. And we're not going to tell you who it is.
We're not going to tell you who it is. Okay, fine. It's going to be a mysterious secret
We're just going to make this
from
awkward.
a venue around here. That's the only hint you get.
I guess, sure.
Do you want to tell them who? I don't know. I don't know if
It's
you
in
want to.
Arlington Heights.
Okay, it's in Arlington. That'll
Look
be.
it out.
That'll be.
Find it
a
out.
big-
It's a puzzle.
I think it's time to end.
Yeah.
All right,
I
you're
need food.
you're Dan.
You're Adela. And this has been another episode. I'm going to do Patrick this time.
Okay.
Of the Underbelly hours in my basement. Ladle.
Bye.
Are you tired of listening to the same bands over and over again?
Over and over.
Stop listening to what mainstream media chooses for you
You filthy casual.
and try something new. Tune in to the Underbelly Hours every Sunday night at 6 p.m.
On WRSE 88.7 FM.
for exclusive interviews, unreleased content, and more from the depths of Chicago's underground. I'm Adela.
I'm Dan.
Take off your coat and stay a while.
Now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere you stream your podcasts, thanks to Ox Audio, a Chicago-based podcasting platform.